I know what you're thinking. Jake, where's your usual spooky gear? Well, spooky season is unfortunately over, and I don't know if you heard, but we're going to Thailand for this one. I'm an Aussie. If you don't know, this is actually the most culturally appropriate garb to wear as an Aussie in Thailand. And I was worried that this film wasn't filmed in Thailand because for the whole runtime, there was not a single shot of Aussies, 12 big tanks deep, smacking on in the front of some fucking bar, doing their best Rod Tang impersonation. Ooh-wee. But on further research, it turns out it was shot in Thailand. It's just like the fancy part of Thailand. So that's great because personally, I think Thailand's a beautiful place, and it deserves to be put on cinematic display. There has been a slew of social media influencer horrors as of late. Host, Deadstream, Unfriended, and I have personally found that they can be pretty hit or miss. Like, you can get some really good ones, but you can also get some fucking trash. Thankfully, this movie, Influencer, pretty fucking good. Pretty good. At the start, I was worried because I didn't really like anyone. I thought, oh, this is some basic bitch shit. But it turns into a really intriguing mystery film, and for me, that elevates it to one of the best of a fairly new genre of horror. And that fucking, honestly, that makes me stoked. Influencer follows social media star Madison, played by Emily Tennant, on what was supposed to be a romantic trip to Thailand. Madison's BF Ryan has pulled out last minute, which has led Madison to like wallow in glumness between her routine of tanning, swimming, cocktail drinking, and obsessively checking social media. Poor Madison. Madison perks up, however, because she meets the suspiciously helpful CW, and she offers to show Madison and all her followers all the best parts of Thailand. From there, like a bull, Madison just charges at red flags for our amusement. And we get to sit back and try to work out what angle Madison's going to get fucked up by. And that is very enjoyable.
Everything is so much better now that I've decided to stay.
I have some ideas for what we should do tomorrow.
I actually have a surprise for you tomorrow.
Everything is so much better now that I've decided to stay.
Since when are you suddenly shy?
I just don't like being on camera.
So someone else was pretending to be you the whole time?
Hello?
I didn't expect to like this movie, honestly. Unlike Bodies, 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 I never really warmed up to the characters of Madison, CW, or Ryan. But god damn if I didn't find the mystery intriguing in this. Like, sleuthers. Sleuthers assemble. For the first 20-30 minutes of this film, every time Madison and CW went anywhere, I thought, alright, this is where they're going to get kidnapped. Okay, they didn't get kidnapped, alright. Oh, this is where they're going to get drunk and attacked. Okay, nope, they just walked out of that bar, they just got home fine. Okay. Oh, they're at an elephant sanctuary. This is where they're going to get trampled by elephants. No. Okay, well then what the fuck is the angle here? Like, was it going to be like The Shallows? Is they going to get stranded by sharks? Or is it going to be like Funny Games? By the way, if you haven't seen Funny Games, toughy, but good movie. Thankfully, it's not like Funny Games, otherwise it would have been a lot tougher to watch. But they keep you guessing of where the danger is going to come from. That when the first major plot point happens, it is, I found it delightfully sinister. You could argue that this is a slasher, but it's not directly a slasher. There's more to it than that. This is more complex than it says. This is Transformers, more than meets the eye. It's like eating a bag of different flavored jelly beans. You think it's pretty good, right? You have a jelly bean and you're like, okay, this is pretty good, but I've had strawberry before. And then the next jelly bean you eat and it's like sea salted tangerine with caramel. And you're like, okay, that's not what I was expecting, but I'm fucking intrigued. I didn't know these jelly beans were going to get that complex. That's the feeling I had with this movie. Like, I was expecting some real basic shit, and it gets a lot more complicated than that, and I really like that. The writing is fairly solid through the whole film. There are some minor plot holes. There's going to be some. There's always going to be some, especially when you do this sort of type of horror. The acting is annoyingly good. as most of the characters exude like annoying influencer energy. Like they're not really in Thailand interacting with the culture of Thailand. They're just they're more self-absorbed, moving around this foreign country. But it worked. It works really well for this one. And I know there's a lot of hate out there for influencers, especially from the guys out there for the most part. But lads, it's time to take a good hard look. Let's be honest with ourselves. David Goggins, still an influencer, right? Like he's not fucking out there live, laugh, loving, but more meat mindset marathons. It's the same shit though. I know it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear, but they hated Jesus because he told the truth, but it still had to be said. It's the same shit, guys, honestly. There's a lot of fake positivity, hyping people up just to tear them down offline in this, which obviously that comes with the territory. Cassandra Naud as CW she's definitely the MVP for me in this one. She has a really interesting character, and she plays her really well. There's a lot of like 1,000-yard stares and weird little character mannerisms and motivations that made me wish they delve into her backstory a bit more. You don't get much, which sometimes makes it scarier, but I could have used that in this one. There's also a large part of this movie that happens off screen, and fuck, I wish they'd showed us that. Even some of that. I'd watch a sequel. If they want to do a sequel just about the part that's shown off screen, I'm in. I love that shit. The ending broke my ankles, honestly. I thought they were going one way. I thought it was done and they were going one way. And then right at the last minute, they juked. And I was left like on my back on the hardwood fucking grinning. So fair play to Curtis David Harder because he fucking stuck the landing. I really enjoyed the ending for this one. And that's hard to do. Especially in horror. I recommend watching this if you love social media horrors. This is a social media horror. If you're sort of into that new wave Gen Z sort of stuff, so lots of the stuff that was made around COVID, does a really good job of that. If you watch those Netflix shows about grifters, this is a really good horror for someone who's horror averse, but loves true crime stuff. Like if you've got a partner who loves those like scam shows on Netflix but doesn't like horror, This is a great middle ground. You could bond over this one. If you love Survivor Thailand, it's in Thailand. It's Thailand's fucking amazing. I don't recommend watching this if you hate horrors where none of the characters are likable. I went through the whole film. I didn't like any of the characters. It still worked for me, and in fact it lowered the stakes in a good way for me. It just made it enjoyable. But if you need likable characters, you're probably not going to find them here. If you're after a supernatural horror, this ain't it. This ain't your ghosts and ghouls. If you're after a scary film, also, this isn't it. If you want a scary film in Thailand, just YouTube Schoolies in Thailand. That'll scare the shit out of you way more than any fucking film. This is not that scary, but it is enjoyable as hell. This is a solid Trouble in Paradise mystery film. If you did like this, definitely check out some of the more influencer horrors like Cam and Deadstream are two of my favorites in this genre. And if you like this, you'll like them for sure. As always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week for another review. Peace.